We're looking a lot about outsourcing, but let's look on the supply chain on the demand issues, what exactly that means. Outsourcing the critical components opens up opportunities for competitors. You really open up the aspect of are you sharing the same person you're outsourcing with somebody else? How protected is your intellectual knowledge? It implies the company's losing its ability to introduce new designs based on their agenda rather than the supplier's agenda, or in other words, a push agenda, which is coming typically from your manufacturer, or even maybe sometimes the raw materials person that's supplying that. So you have different aspects of it. So all of a sudden it shows a weakness in the market because people know what's going on, especially your competitors. So outsourcing the various components, the different suppliers, prevents the development of new insights. It really slows down your innovation, and solutions that require cross-functional teamwork actually go outside your company, and you have to start including those people in your supply chain in the process. It's fine when demand is high. Everybody's running around trying to get a quick start on it. And it's also fine if you're a startup just trying to get your feet wet as to, okay, I need to do this. I need to trust this person to do it this way over here. It's not exactly what I want, but it'll get the job done. Sometimes you have to sit down and have that aspect of it. But when you have a slow economy and there's a decline in demand, all of a sudden, long-term commitments by everybody entails a huge financial risk for the buyers. Why should they want to sit down there and put their money out there when maybe there's an opportunity that opens up over here? So when it slows down, all of a sudden those people that were your best friends, yo, hey, we're best friends over here in the supply chain. Yes, yes, let's all sing along and let's have a beer in the process. Oh yeah. And all of a sudden now they're not so much. Where are your friends? I thought you were my friends. No, you're by yourself because of the fact it's all about money. So in the way we have the demand issues, you're always paying attention. The buyers will insist on flexibility, and you have to know what their needs are to make certain that you have them on board for you. So they want to solve the design problems as fast as possible because they need to get busy. They need to get busy. That clock is ticking for them, and you have to sit down there and pay attention to them. The suppliers, their focus is always going to be on cost reduction for themselves so they can get more profit in the process. So they want speed, they want to have it now, and they want to have cost reduction. They don't want to stop the machinery going inside their factories. And the distributors don't want to have any empty pallet space inside their warehouse. They want everything to be the way they want it to be. And if you are not sitting there responding as quickly as they want, they might find somebody else to sell their product to, and you may not want that because of the fact that all of a sudden you'll lose their support, and maybe they'll be slower on delivering to you than you are over here, your competitor. So you have that issue to worry about. So the slow responsiveness, design changes. Here's a couple of examples historically in the PC market. Really, IBM entered in 1981. They outsourced a lot of their stuff to get started quickly, and they had a huge market share, beating Apple to be the top PC manufacturer in a short period of time. They had 40% market share. They were dominating. And then you had Compaq. The Compaq started using the same suppliers. So the same suppliers, they got a belt going over here for Compaq and a belt over here going for IBM, and let's swap them back and forth. Well, they know the difference if we sat down there and just swapped them a little bit, changed them out. No, probably not. Let's do that. And so, whatever, sometimes you might have IBM coming up with some kind of new innovation. So surprisingly, it wouldn't be surprising that Compaq comes up with exactly the same innovation because the supplier only has to make one part, one style, one way, instead of making two parts that are just a little bit different. So all of a sudden now the supplier is customizing the products that fit their needs rather than your needs, even if it does basically meet them, but it's a different design or maybe different variation of what you wanted to have. IBM, they tried to regain the market by introducing a new line of PS2s, okay, with a different type of a system. So the suppliers and competitors didn't follow them. And so all of a sudden, their market share shrank 8% by 1995. Let's go back from 1981 to 1995. All of a sudden, Compaq was beating them. They had 10%, okay, and they had 8%. Gee, okay, so Compaq came up. Oh, and they were sharing the same suppliers. This wonderful opportunity of outsourcing can turn around and bite you and actually drag you down if you aren't paying attention to what's going on. The design and innovation should come from you, not the supplier. Cisco, the year 2000, they announced a $2.2 billion write down for obsolete inventory. They had to lay off 8,500 employees. They were behind the eight ball, and there was a crisis within their organization. There was a big slowdown. So the reduction in demand for telecommunication infrastructure was reduced because of the fact that you had an economy changing, and also they primarily were using, if you recall earlier, a lot of outsourcing. They outsourced almost everything. So outsourcing problems, you have a lot of them. The problem in its virtual global manufacturing network, that's that whole thing, the virtual corporation and all the wonders of it, just like Nike. Well, Nike had a problem too. It's not reflected here, but Nike had a problem. They were having their shoes made over in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh had two disasters in 1 year where over 10,000 workers were dead because of poor building facilities, and Nike was part of that aspect of it. They got caught up in the process. Be careful in the aspect of outsourcing, control it, make certain that you really have a good opportunity, good inspection services, know what's going on, and that you are driving the innovation, not the supply chain driving you. So that being said, if you get a long supply lead time for key components, that'll slow you down and have an impact delivery on your customers. That's what Cisco was doing. And because they outsourced everything instead of controlled and owned it themselves, they had all kinds of difficulties. So focus on core competencies. So how you identify what's your core, what is outside the core, it depends, but there should be a clear, definitive aspect as to what's involved, and also clear control of the contract, the supply contract, of what the expectations are. If you're really good, but you have to have history, you want to have a contract that's flexible enough so when the economy slows, because no matter what happens, life can be roaring along, the economy eventually will slow down some reason or somehow. Okay, does your contract have the flexibility there to ensure the same relationship you have with your supplier, or do you want it to have that same relationship? Know what you want. So depend on capacity. You want to know the knowledge and skills of the people that make your components. Make sure they can fully fulfill everything you expect, and that the outsourcer is not outsourcing. Okay, make certain they have solid knowledge. You don't want to have somebody having to consult somebody else if they don't know what they're doing. Okay, does that firm have the people, skills, and knowledge to produce the component that you want? You got to check that out. Don't believe everything you hear. Okay, for instance, over here, Toyota, about 30% of its components are insourced. Okay, so that being said, on the engines, the company had the knowledge capacity. 100% of all of the engines are produced internally. They own the engines, and they have that, and that is the primary driver. That is the heart of a car to begin with. So with that, they don't have to trust the people to sit down and get the engine for them. They have that. The other components are not as critical and strategic as that engine. That engine is there. The transmission, they have the knowledge and designs for all the components. Okay, the suppliers have 70% of the components outsourced, so they don't view the transmission as being that critical, but actually the electronic systems within it are designed by the suppliers as well. They have different pathways for the transmissions, different pathways for the vehicle systems, but the core of the vehicle is the engine itself, and that's controlled 100% by Toyota, and they don't have to depend on anybody else. Another part is the outsourcing practice depends on the strategic role of all the components and the subsystems. So by owning the engine, they don't have to worry about the main part that drives the vehicle. They did get in trouble with chips. Typically, a normal car has 8 to 120 chips. Depends what vehicle you have and how fancy it is. But at one point during the pandemic, if you recall, Toyota had over 120,000 cars sitting on a lot, not because of the engine, not because of the body, but because they didn't have enough chips to sit down, computer chips, to put inside the cars to sell them. So they had cars sitting on lots over in Kentucky and Tennessee that weren't drivable because they didn't have any computer chips, and they were aging inventory. That's not a good thing upon a product that ages as you go through, and all of a sudden, as it ages, it becomes cheaper because the next model's coming out. Oh no, 2 months. So what do you be doing? So they had that whole aspect of it. So to put a lot of vehicles, they had to drop the prices on them to make sure they unloaded them quickly before the new model came out. So it's always important. Outsourcing locks up your supply chain, and that's good and bad. So that's pay attention to what's going on. Okay, it helps the retailer focus on the core business, but unless you control your supply chain, make certain that you're going to have a constant stream, no matter if the economy is good or bad. That really is the part of it. It can help reduce the overall cost and actually help you keep more capital than putting it off in the process. So on demand issues, make certain that you're the one that is in the driver's seat, no pun intended with Toyota, in the process of what is happening inside your supply chain. Take care.